Hello, my name is Johanna Wilson, and today I will be taking you through my capstone project. I'm going to go over the reasoning behind why I chose this project and give you a short tour. So my capstone is called Breaking Barriers, Your Toolkit on Accessibility at FIT. FIT stands for the Fashion Institute of Technology, which is the college where I work. So the toolkit includes information for FIT employees on disability support and digital accessibility at FIT. So to give you a little bit more information or more details, my abstract states, Breaking Barriers, Your Toolkit on Accessibility at FIT is an accessibility toolkit that provides a centralized disability and accessibility support resource for Fashion Institute of Technology staff. The toolkit consists of practical, easy-to-locate information and resources, helping staff to support the students they serve. Using this toolkit, staff can swiftly identify what accommodations are available to students, where to locate the college's Disability Support Office, how to register for the Disability Portal, and how to ensure that documents and web pages are accessible to all. The toolkit includes an opportunity for users to evaluate their initial level of knowledge, and after reviewing the toolkit, complete a short summative quiz. So in terms of a little bit of background as to why I chose this for my project, in the US, according to the Center for Disease Control, over 70 million people, or 1 in 4, identify as having a disability. There has been an increase in the number of students nationwide who also identify as having a disability. So this is reflected at FIT, where there has been a steady increase in the number of students self-identifying as having a disability. So for example, in 2024, a total of 875 students, or 11% of the student population, identified as having a disability. In addition, in 2024, the Department of Justice updated the Americans with Disabilities Act to state that educational institutions with more than 50,000 students must adopt the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines by April 2026. So because of these factors, I felt a toolkit to provide staff with resources they need to support students and ensure digital accessibility would be a worthwhile project, and hopefully make their lives easier. So as mentioned, the audience for the toolkit is FIT employees, in particular staff members, and staff members at the school or the department level. So I'm talking about academic staff members. These members of the FIT community are often the first point of contact for student questions, and as such, they need to be able to access information quickly and easily. So in addition, staff are often the ones who are responsible for updating web pages and creating digital documents. Therefore, they need to be able to ensure that those documents are accessible. Currently, the college does not have much in the way of accessibility training and resources. Therefore, I have included all the information that I was able to from throughout the college into this toolkit. In terms of the layout and design of the toolkit, prior to starting, I researched a number of existing toolkits to determine the most effective, clear way to convey information. The design of the toolkit was inspired by two toolkits in particular, the UNICEF Accessibility Toolkit and the Internet Society Accessibility Toolkit. So both of those toolkits presented information in a clear, concise manner with little extra information and provided multiple ways of expressing information or illustrating information. And that was what I was trying to duplicate or recreate in this toolkit. So the site itself was created using Google Sites. I did that because Google is very commonly used across the college. Google Docs, Google Forms, Gmail, all of those programs are very common at FIT, which means that somebody moving forward, if someone else was to update the site, they would know how to do it. In terms of assessment, the toolkit contains two surveys, an initial baseline survey and a formative feedback survey, and both were created using Google Forms. So I'll just show you where the initial survey is. It's in the Start Here page. At the Start Here page, they can watch a welcome video and then also take the survey. So that was created using Google Forms, as you can see. Once users have reviewed the resources in the toolkit, they are invited to complete a short summative quiz, which is also optional. This can be taken any number of times, and for the quiz I initially chose Google Forms. However, it lacks some of the desired functionality that I was looking for. I was hoping to find a tool that had more interactivity and the ability to take questions multiple times. I ended up choosing a product called Involve Me as opposed to Google Forms because it offered the opportunity to take questions multiple times. I was also hoping that I'd be able to choose a tool that would provide a downloadable certificate. However, this product does not have that. So the workaround is that if the staff member enters their name and passes the quiz, what I'll do is I will send them a digital certificate. So we can just take a look actually at, this is an example of the digital certificate. And I'll just show you the quiz, which is found in the Test Your Knowledge page. Just click on that, and it'll take them to quiz where they can complete a number of questions. There's also an optional feedback survey, which was also created using Google Forms. So in terms of learning theories, this toolkit was designed with the Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, principles in mind. Using a toolkit structure as the format for organizing information and resources supports UDL principles by allowing the user to follow a personalized learning path based on their needs. When first accessing the toolkit, they're given an option to self-assess that initial survey, and that will give them an idea of their baseline understanding and what information they potentially need to research more on. To encourage and maintain motivation and interest, I've included two primary mediums for illustrating information, which is video and text. But because of the large amount of information included in the toolkit and the immediate nature in which it needs to be accessed, the primary medium is text. So consideration was given to providing a little more variation in terms of representation of knowledge, such as discussion forums or more social learning. However, due to the anticipated sporadic nature of the toolkit, this wasn't adopted. The informal, ever-changing, and network-building elements of the toolkit speak to the learning theory of connectivism, which places an emphasis on networks, connections, and the changeable process of acquiring knowledge. So as new information is added to the toolkit, knowledge will change, build, and further connections will be made between the different topics. While creating the toolkit, I also kept in mind cognitive load theory and executive functioning and attempted to make the toolkit as streamlined as possible. So to that, in terms of design, it has been designed with the needs of staff in mind, ensuring that they can access information very quickly and easily. The format was chosen for practical reasons. They're able to go to an area that they need information on, such as digital accessibility. They can bookmark this page, come back to it time and time again. So the idea of a toolkit makes it very useful for staff in that sense. I'll now take you on a very short tour of the toolkit. To start with, we're at the home page, and this gives you a little bit of idea of the different pages within the toolkit. There's also a FAQs link here, so if somebody is looking for a common question, they'll often find it in the FAQs page if they need the information immediately. So we looked at the Start Here page, where you can see a welcome video and the survey. The next page is mission and goals. This is just the mission statement in terms of inclusivity and accessibility at FIT, and then the goals of the toolkit. The Fittable Office, this is a common question for students in terms of how to access resources. So where do they even start? Where do they go? That's why I pulled the Fittable Office out into a separate page on its own. So it has the contact hours and just a little bit of information on who they are, including this intro video. So accommodations at FIT, this provides the staff member with an understanding of assistive technology, and then also the accommodations and assistive technology that's available for students, so that they're able to support them by giving them an idea of what might be available to them. I've pulled out on-campus housing accommodations in a separate color to highlight this one in particular, because this is a very, very, very common question in terms of students asking for accommodations for housing. So this is probably the number one question. That's why I separated it out. And it's also a direct link in the FAQs as well. So there's just a little bit more information in terms of how to register and what you need to request an accommodation there. The digital accessibility page gives a little bit of background as to why documents and web pages need to be accessible. Then we have some practical tools in terms of accessibility checkers and guides. So this one in particular, Wave, is a very good tool. You can use that to ensure that a website is accessible, and this is actually the tool that I used for this toolkit itself to ensure that it was accessible. Modern Campus, this is the tool, the CMS that FIT uses, so this is useful information. And then I pulled out Google Suite, Microsoft, and Adobe, and included information there because those are the three main programs that are used by staff members at FIT. The resource toolbox has additional information, including some information on courses that staff can take, including SUNY information, and then just a little more background on accessibility. So this page can be a little bit of a catch-all, but it also does have a lot of useful information in it. It also includes this link to these printable flyers. So these were created for staff members to print off. They can print these and display them in their offices so that to call attention to what's available for students. And then we have the Test Your Knowledge page, which is where the quiz is and the optional feedback survey, the FAQs page, and then just an About page. So overall, I'm quite happy with the final version of the toolkit. I feel that the clean layout and design creates a stress-free user experience. And I'm confident that first-time users will be able to easily navigate to any on-time information they need, such as requests for housing information, which is very common. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you.